from the Crypt.
What is up, freaks? Welcome back to Tales from the Crypt. It's your boy Marty Ben here on a Friday morning. We got coffee in the studio. It's early. It's around 8 a.m. May 11th, 2018, year of our Lord. And we're going to talk about digital collectibles today. I'm very excited. So, how much time do we have?
I got to train at 11.
All right. So we've got a couple hours here. And you guys have heard him already. I'd like to introduce you all to co-founder of the Rare Pepe Foundation, Joe Looney. Joe, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. I'm excited to talk about this today because we've been corresponding in DMs for a little bit in the last couple of months talking about digital collectibles. It's something I can't wrap my head around fully yet.
Yep.
But you have been fully immersed in it, to some extent at least, being part of the Rare Pepes project. We'll get into Rare Pepes in a little bit first. We got to hear your tale. How did you get into Bitcoin?
I got into it, like I actually bought my first Bitcoin just prior to the big pump in early 2013 up to like $250.
Mm-hmm. So
I got interested probably like February, March when it was around $100, and then I thought I was a genius when it went up to 260. then it crashed back down to 100, and I wasn't as smart anymore. But I had heard about it probably like a year before. I remember like following just a random Twitter handle that would tweet the price, but never really thought about it until I saw that tweeted price going up and up and up. So then I finally looked into it.
What drew you to it? Do you come from more of like an economics background, a computer science background, or?
I'm a big fan of just the internet in general.
Mm-hmm.
It was I was actually like starting to decide whether I wanted to get into trading like options and futures and stuff like that. And I remember I went to a seminar on options trading because it was one of those things I really couldn't understand like buying a put or selling a put or buying a call, like what that actually meant. And so I kind of figured it out. And then by the end of the thing, I was like, man, this is crazy because these things like just slowly rot away. Like it seems like the craziest thing to try to like make money in. And then right after that, I saw Bitcoin going up. I'm like, wow, this is probably just as crazy, but it's something new. So maybe the ceiling's higher. So, and just in general, interest in just like the idea that you could have money on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, it's pretty powerful. And so what we're here to talk about is digital collectibles. You helped with Rare Pepes when it was getting off the ground. So
I did.
So let's explain Rare Pepes for the freaks out there that don't understand what it is.
Yeah. So back up maybe a little bit and talk about Counterparty.
Okay.
So I've been involved in Counterparty since like right after they had their launch, which was a burn, which was kind of interesting for the time because it wasn't an ICO. People literally just burned Bitcoin to get a certain amount of XCP, which is the Counterparty token. So I've always just kind of been into that, and I actually built a wallet, a Chrome extension wallet that's actually very similar to MetaMask, like, which is kind of funny because I did it in 2014, like prior to Ethereum even launching. So it's like I'm like watching that happen is like, wow, like I guess it was a good idea 2 years ago or like when I had it. So, but I kind of went through the whole progression of like, oh, these tokens would be great for like tickets, or they would be great for like using as like a way like coupons or something like that. And I kind of like, no, that's stupid. Like no one would want to like pay transaction fees for that. Like having all these ideas and eventually thinking like, no, like it kind of like when people first get into like crypto and see these like tokens and stuff and have all these wild imagination of like all these things they can do. And so I kind of went through that early on, like 2014, 2015. And
I feel like that's a cycle everybody has to go through, right?
Yeah, well, it's anything with crypto, right? You come in, you're gonna fix everything, and you have this great idea that all the people here had never thought of before. And, but yeah, so actually, there's a project called Spells of Genesis that came out on Counterparty. I think maybe late 2014, early 2015.
So Let's back up a step. Is
Yeah,
counterparty
explain
acts
what it
as
is.
sort of like a second layer, or like how does it interact with Bitcoin?
Yeah, so like counterparty is Bitcoin. It's like a meta layer on top. Mastercoin, which is Omni now, is kind of like the first protocol to build on top of Bitcoin, and all that really means is using either op return, which is what Counterparty uses exclusively now because it's big enough when they went from 40 to 80 bytes. But you can actually encode data other ways too. Like one of the methods I used early on was opcheck multisig, and you basically just you create kind of dummy. You create one of three. It's bare multisig, so it's not P2SH. And you create basically two dummy addresses, and you create these one of three multisig outputs, and the two dummy addresses are actually your data that you're encoding.
Isn't this what Satoshi's coins are? Aren't they? They're not using P2SH, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Opcheck multisig is kind of like the precursor to P2SH.
Yeah.
And the reason why P2SH is more efficient is it takes up a lot less space, and it's actually, I think it's more like privacy centric because you don't actually see the addresses, the different addresses in the multisig. But it still works. I mean, like with Bitcoin, everything's like backwards compatible. So there were a few kind of like it stopped working after one update, and it was something to do with like the weight of like the inputs to outputs on either side, and I think that got fixed. I think it works again. But because op returns 80 bytes, you can squeeze most data into that. And what Counterparty does is a counterparty transaction is just a regular Bitcoin transaction with a message in the op return, and then the counterparty server basically runs Bitcoin D in the background, and then it parses every block, looks for counterparty transactions, and then builds a database from those messages.
Okay. All right. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so it's cool because it kind of like leverages the security of Bitcoin, but it's still it's a weird beast. It's unlike other coins.
It's had its ups and downs, right?
Yeah, well, I've never been a fan. Like I never thought XCP, which is the currency, was a good investment. Yeah. And I still don't think it is, even though like I've developed on Counterparty for years and I use it all the time, like because the value in Counterparty is because you're leveraging Bitcoin as far as like the ordering of transactions and stuff like that. But there's nothing to stop anyone from just launching another Counterparty and just basically doing the same thing on Bitcoin also. So it like kind of gains its strength from like people the more people that build on it, the more it makes sense to not like roll your own version. So that was one of the reasons why I'm like, I would never really invest in the currency just because anybody could roll their own new Counterparty. Right. Like, but it works, and it really was like the first, like, Mastercoin was the first, but it's a place you can build tokens, and it's on Bitcoin. It's not. We didn't need Ethereum token smart contracts to have tokens in crypto. So,
are you telling me the ERC 721 isn't the most efficient way to do these tokens?
It's a different way.
All right. So we got through Counterparty's history, and so Rare Pepe, the Rare Pepe coin started. Did it start as a joke with like June Seth and Krista Rose on the podcast, or was it more?
Well, no, they kind of like they saw it develop kind of how I did, and then so back up a little bit just to like some more perspective on it. It wasn't a planned thing. It was basically I mentioned Spells of Genesis quickly before, and that was a project that created these like trading cards, and they said these Counterparty tokens they made equaled the trading cards, and they'd have just a picture of a trading card, and I was very skeptical at first. I was like, that's kind of weird. Like they don't, like they're not those things. And I actually like right before the genesis of Rare Pepe, maybe a month or two before, I finally kind of accepted like I saw Spells of Genesis, it kind of stuck around, and I'm like, you know what? Like, I think this does work. Like, I think it's okay to say that the token is the trading card, or the trading card is the token. And what happened was September 2016. A guy named Mike, and I still only know him as Mike, on Telegram, posted in the Counterparty Telegram chat the first Rare Pepe, and it was the Dorian Nakamoto Rare Pepe, and he posted that, and he basically said like this is like, and he created the asset called Rare Pepe, and he goes, this is a Rare Pepe. I put him up on the decentralized exchange, which is another like very powerful aspect of Counterparty that we can talk about. And he just put them up there, put them up for sale, and everybody in the chat was like, "Oh, this is hilarious! Like, these are great!" But then everyone wanted to make their own, so everyone started registering like different like Pepe themed assets and drawing their own cards and stuff.
I want to get a hold of the David Seaman Pepe.
Yeah, I could send you one of those. I'm also a big Pepe collector, so
yeah,
practice what I preach. Yeah, I mean, and that was kind of, so I built the Rare Pepe wallet, and that was really like the reason I did it was because I was collecting Pepes, and I like needed a good way to like store them and trade them and stuff. So as much as it was something, because I mean, as a developer, you like to see other people like use the thing that you made, but it was really I was building it for myself. So. But yeah, the way it was able to take off, I think, was because of the decentralized exchange on Counterparty, which is just, it's built right into the protocol, and you can put up orders to buy or sell something, and then people can match those orders on the other side.
What's the GUI look like for that? Like, is it, or like, how's that?
So it's actually pretty bad in Counter Wallet, which is the main, like, the wallet of Counterparty, the original developers that built Counterparty. That was the wallet that they had built. And that was one of the reasons for Rare Pepe wallet. So I tried to make it as easy as possible. So it's really as simple as you click a button, like you go to the Pepe, you click a button that says buy, sell, and it just looks like a regular order book, and you place your order, you see sell orders, you can match them. And
does the JPEG image come up on the book too? Or,
oh yeah. Yeah.
I got to dive into this. I got to dive into Rare Pepes.
Yeah, check it out. Check out the wallet.
Let's talk about like digital. Like, how valuable do you think like the digital collectible space can be? Like, I can't wrap my mind around it.
Yeah, so I wrote like a little Medium post. I've only ever written one Medium post, and it was more just because I felt like everyone had their own idea of like what these things are. Like, what are these? And I kind of see them as it's a different application of like cryptocurrency, but it's not like cryptocurrency. It's like crypto things or like crypto goods, right? So they're like low issue, and it's just another application of like digital scarcity, right? It's like, so I can say, yeah, I have money, right? Because that's the I would say that's the. Of course, that would be the first application of digital scarcity, but I really think these like collectibles and stuff, like they can have staying power. I don't know about the ones on Ethereum, but just the idea in general. Well, I'm not so sure on the staying power of Ethereum.
Really, why is that?
I don't think it can scale, and I think. I see how where they're going just in the latest like last couple weeks. They had that big like the convention thing or something.
Yeah, where they did the Badger dance.
Yes. And I remember seeing slides from a presentation and for governance, and it almost looks like it's turning like they want to be like where EOS is starting out. And I look at EOS as the most ridiculous project.
I wrote about EOS yesterday in my newsletter. I think they're trying to like launder money. Like the way their ICO is going. And
I honestly think that EOS is like one of the best ideas in the space, because it takes best ideas as in like it takes the ultimate conclusion of every like security like basically where you're like, oh, we don't need to be real secure in that like part of the chain. We don't need to be that secure here. And it just does it right out of the gate.
It takes all those assumptions.
It takes all those assumptions. Just, you know what? Doesn't matter. 21. We only need 21 people to validate this chain, and we can have governance to freeze the chain. I see it as where Ethereum's going to end up.
Okay.
And it's just out of the gate where it's starting, and I don't think Ethereum can end up there without having more forks, because it turned from a thing like smart contracts on a Bitcoin-like chain, and now it's just evolving into this like weird kind of like governance, like not a real cryptocurrency. I'd say.
I got beers with somebody last night. We were talking about like how many like full nodes that are archiving the full history of Ethereum are there. Like it's hard to find that data.
Yeah, I saw something the other day. It was like it's over a terabyte of
Right?
data or something and they don't call them full nodes. They call them archival nodes, right? Which just suggests like you don't need to run that,
right? Which is the whole point of this goddamn thing.
Yeah,
you're supposed to be able to confirm everything.
Yeah.
No, so yeah, EOS. So they're trying to do everything out of the box, and you think it's great just because it's going to like.
I think it's like because like we all being like Bitcoin people, right? You think Bitcoin's gonna win, or it's gonna be like it is the real decentralized currency, and I see EOS as like the complete opposite of that. So it's like the perfect hedge. Like I have an EOS bag just because it's like the perfect hedge. Like if it turns out no, we don't need any of it, like the whole like sound money argument and all that, just like okay, like that's not a real thing or whatever. It's like, which I'm like pretty sure it is, but I see that as like. That is the opposite.
It's the polar opposite.
That is the polar opposite. Like,
yeah, and like EOS in particular, like again, I wrote about it. I'm pretty sure they're laundering money. They had Brock Pierce as their like go-to guy for a while. That guy freaks me out. He's a weirdo.
Yeah, with his like Crocodile Dundee outfit.
Yeah.
And,
there's one thing we learned in this space. I forget who tweeted it, but somebody tweeted it. It's don't trust child actors in this space. You can't trust Rhett Creighton. You can't trust Brock Pierce.
Bitcoin Private.
He's on the Prime now. All right.
Oh, that's right. Yes, I forgot about that. Bitcoin Prime.
Be careful of the scammers out there, people. They're everywhere.
It's funny because Rhett was around early days of Rare Pepe, and he tried to basically take it and build it on Ethereum like a month or two after we launched it, and we kind of just like laughed him out of the room almost. But yeah, it's funny how like it's a small space, like
right?
you see the same names popping up, you see like
Dan Larimer.
Yeah.
There's some serial scammers out there, and as the cycles of new money come in, there's new people getting scammed every day by the same people.
Yeah.
But let's get back to Rare Pepes. So that was something that like it turned into like a phenomena on Twitter. Like,
yeah, it was Chris and Josh, Bitcoin Uncensored, picked it up, John Seth, and
this is what brought down Bitcoin Uncensored.
It is. Right? Pepe Cash brought down Bitcoin Uncensored, which just makes the whole thing more hilarious. I think there was more going on. I think that was probably just the icing on the cake kind of culmination thing. But there's a funny kind of like legend to Rare Pepe, and I think that all kind of like adds to the value of it. Mm-hmm. And that was one of the things I wrote in that little Medium post that I wrote was like when you collect a Rare Pepe, you're not collecting a picture on a screen. You're collecting a token.
Yeah,
that's what it is. And then my whole kind of thesis is that the picture is that's what the token looks like, right? Mm-hmm. So the other thing that gives it value is like the legend of it. Mm-hmm. So there's different Pepes that are like more like you don't know who the artist is. Just like someone showed up, made a Pepe. There's ones where people made them early days, lost the keys, so it's like you see it like in the wallet, but you can't buy it because it like doesn't exist, like or it's unbuyable. Yeah, I think that, and I see it as like it's because it exists in like the digital space. It's gonna like transform, like as long as Counterparty continues to run, and another nice thing about having that it lives on Bitcoin, no Counterparty nodes could be running and it's still there. because it exists in the chain. You could just reparse it out by spinning up a federated node. But yeah, it's kind of it's a pretty interesting thing, the Rare Pepes, because you can create like all kinds of, like, you can create a game, and there's a developer in Japan that created this like game where you can use different Rare Pepes to like create these like monsters and stuff, and it's like, so anybody can use this thing that just exists. It's this like digital thing and incorporate it into their own application and stuff. So it's like, it has this,
so it can like jump stories too. Like you can,
and that's why I see a lot of value in like the digital collectible space as far as like in games. So
yeah, that's like the one application where like I see it and it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I mean, if you think about like if you ever into like playing video games and stuff, and there's like any kind of game where you like collect things in it, like it would always like, I remember as a kid, it'd be like, oh, I wish I could like have this thing in this other game, like, and you really can do that with. So I see that like these things are valuable, more in kind of like the indie game space, because if I'm like a Blizzard or I'm like a big game company, I probably don't want it open, right? I want to be able to control everything, but if I'm a smaller game developer, I can maybe leverage another developers' assets, and it kind of brings us both up, because now it's like, oh, these things are more valuable. I can use them in like multiple games.
Easier way to bootstrap.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's fucking interesting. I never knew that you could like apply the same assets to different games.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a token, right? So yeah, you can build your game around it, and one of the other things I did in the wallet is like an access control kind of thing. So different creators of Rare Pepes wanted to like have kind of like a secret access, like if you owned the Pepe, you could go enter it. And I did it just using like message signing. So basically you check the server checks basically that the address assigned the message owns the Pepe, and then they get access to the spot. But people have put like private SoundCloud links and stuff like that. So it's kind of just this thing that exists digitally. So you can just kind of, sky's the limit from how you could apply it to different things.
Damn, it's crazy. Like again, trying to wrap my mind around this, like it's insane. Because when I like CryptoKitties, like really turned me off to this shit, because I just see CryptoKitties as a continuation of our conspicuous consumption, where people are just like, oh my god.
Yeah, I don't own any CryptoKitties. I don't know what the draw is to that. I mean, I know a lot of people are into it. The thing I loved about Rare Pepes is everyone makes them. Everyone's making them themselves. It's not just one company kind of making these things and saying, hey, like, here, buy these.
Yeah.
It's just like individual people. And we have like people all over the world making Rare Pepes. Like there's the Japanese Rare Pepes, there's the Venezuelan Rare Pepes, there's like the Indian, there's a couple guys from India that are in there that made Pepes. And so it's like, it really is like, and it was interesting looking at the analytics on the wallet, because it's like the whole map lights up.
Really?
It's like, yeah, it's crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How many Rare Pepes are there right now? Do you know in total?
I think
roughly?
I think it's 1,700 or something.
Nice.
Well, and there will be no more. So the scientists left the lab. So there's no more new Rare Pepes.
Why is this?
We kind of looked at it. So do you
have to burn more?
So the way Rare Pepes worked is, it's because it was kind of an organic thing, and it's not like we being like the few of us that were the Rare Pepe Foundation. So there's like a group of like 6 or 7 of us that were around in the beginning, and we basically, as everyone started making these Pepes, we're like, okay, like we gotta like, let's try to make some like loose guidelines. And I was building a wallet, and I'm like, I can't just put any like, because some Pepes can be pretty horrible, and it's like, I'm running this website, I'm not gonna put that shit on my website. So we just like developed these kind of loose rules around it, and we basically would curate them. So they would be submitted. You'd have to burn Pepe Cash to submit your Pepe, and then it would get submitted to the foundation, and then the scientists in the foundation would make sure that it was rare and dank. So then we'd certify it, and it would show up on the site. It got to be too much. We closed down submissions a few times. We reopened them again. I think like late January of this year, and we got like 60 or 70 like in a day. And it's like the way we have one of the other developers that works on it is he's in Venezuela, and he makes like Telegram bots, so he's pretty good at that. So he created like a kind of like a curation bot, so I could do it on my phone, and like all the ones that are submitted show up, and we'd say like yes or no, and it was like a small portion of us say yes, then it goes in, and then if one person says no, then it jumps out. And it was interesting how that developed. Like at first it was like everyone has to say yes, and it's like you got one guy that doesn't turn on Telegram for 2 weeks. We're gonna have like 400 Pepes in the queue, and it just gets kind of backed up. But from that aspect, it's kind of funny. Like it's built on the blockchain, but it's very centralized as far as the curation. And we're not hiding that. We're like, no, we're gonna look at them, and if we don't like them, or they're like some people you'd submit, like you draw it in 5 seconds and submit. It's like, okay, like maybe that is okay if it's like so shitty that it's like funny, but sometimes it's just shitty. Yeah. So like, those wouldn't make it in. But yeah, and we talked about like, I think we talked about shutting it down at 1,000. We talked about shutting it down at 1,500. And then when we opened it back up in January and we started getting like so many submissions a day, we just kind of talked about it, and we're like, let's just shut it down. Everything's got to end at some point. And that's not to say someone else couldn't spin up Rare Pepe Generation 2 or whatever they want to do. I mean, anybody can do what they want, right? So, but the original Rare Pepes no longer can be submitted.
The Rare Pepes that brought down Bitcoin uncensored.
Yep, exactly.
Are capped now. It's fascinating. Let's jump in. One thing we talk a lot on this podcast is meme magic. And Pepe is a very powerful meme.
Oh yeah,
been in the news. Why did you guys decide on Pepe in particular?
Well, it was more that guy Mike. Yeah. He just posted a Pepe, and I feel like one of the reasons it worked is because like Pepe is like the perfect meme to make like a digital collectible out of, right? Because the joke around Pepe was it's rare. Like prior to this whole project and everything, like it would be like, I created this Pepe, but I can't show it to anybody, so it stays rare. Like that was always the joke, and it's been around for years. And
do you know how like the origin story of Pepe? Like,
I think it started on 4chan. And I remember hearing because like when it came out, like when Hillary Clinton came out and said it was a hate symbol, like everybody did
you're a Nazi if you like Pepe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just for the record, I am not a Nazi.
No, I'm kidding. No, but it's
but that's a battle we have to fight all the time. I mean,
right?
not really so much now. That's really died down, and
yeah,
we had a actually it was the Rare Digital Art Festival. We did in January. And I did a presentation. I did Rare Pepe wallet and stuff. And I was waiting for that question. Like I was waiting for someone in the audience to go, as like, so are you like an alt-right Nazi or something? Like I was like, here it comes. Like when we asked like for questions, and nobody asked. So I was like, all right, good. Like maybe that whole like thought process has died down, because Pepe was around for years before that. And the whole thing with Pepe is, it's a meme. You can make it anything you want. Right? So, like, if you want to make it a Nazi, you can make it a Nazi. If you want to make it like something
Uncle
funny,
Sam,
yeah,
you can make it Uncle Sam.
Exactly. And there are Uncle Sam Pepes in the Rare Pepe directories.
Really?
There are. Yeah, there's a couple of them. But yeah.
No, it's interesting how, I mean, the media cycle is so quick. Like that happened. I feel like that was like a week where people like, this is alt-right, like. And they try to co-opt like people having fun and turn it against people. It's like,
yeah, it's a shame, because it's like what they could say is like we don't like these, but not the whole idea.
Yeah,
of
don't
it.
paint a broad brush.
Yeah, I mean, you could say like, oh, there's people posting stuff on Twitter, so like all of Twitter is bad. Like you wouldn't say that,
right?
So it's it's kind of a shame that it kind of took that turn a little bit in the early, because it started in September 2016, which is right before the election, and it was actually like a week after we started like making Pepes. The whole like Pepe alt-right thing came, and we're like, are you kidding me? Like, but yeah, no, Pepe is just like, I think it is one of like the earliest like internet memes that I can think of. That people would just like the feels good man.
Yeah, feels good
feels
man.
bad man.
The cringe, the Pepe cringe is one of my favorites. No, it's interesting. So how do you see this evolving, digital collectibles? Where do you see it going? Like you said, indie games, like...
Yeah, I think that's probably like a really big space for it. Like, I think people really start to see the value in it when people start doing like cross game things. People really haven't done that as much now, actually, and I like just kind of like Crypto Kitties is like, much as I think they're kind of lame, like people have made like Crypto Kitty accessories, and like other projects have done it, which I also think are like kind of silly, but it does show that like anybody, you don't need the permission of that company to build something that interacts with it. But I think if they start getting used more heavily for like things in like powerful items in games, and then other games start to say, if you have this, then from this other game, then it has this function in this game. It kind of layers that, and it really shows that like, wow, there is value to this because these things exist outside of the game.
Yeah, you could have like a Marvel DC like collab.
Yeah, anything, like, but you don't need permission. Like, I could come in as like an indie gamer and say like, oh yeah, this other like pretty popular game has these items in it, and it's like, if you have those items in my game, then they do like X, Y, and Z, and then now people already have them, so now they're more inclined to, oh, I'll try your game because now I'm already like leveled up because I had these things because I play this other game.
Yeah, it's crazy. Shit, man. How weird are games gonna get?
I think the whole like ecosystem of games. I'm not a big gamer.
I'm not a big gamer
myself,
either.
so a lot of this I'm kind of like just guessing, I'd say, because I'm not like in it. But I could really see how that could evolve and just be like the new norm. Like like you create these. Maybe not every token or every item in your game is rare, tokenized, but a few are, and then other developers would leverage off that because it makes sense, right? Because I can instantly kind of grab some like market share, not even grabbing the market share, but like grabbing users from another game and entice them to use mine because I've kind of like given them a head start when they haven't even started playing yet.
Yeah.
But the other aspect of this, which is kind of more from like the art side of it, is digital artists now have like a way to like sell limited kind of prints of their digital art, which is, it's like a very abstract idea.
It's very abstract.
Yeah. Yeah, and I get it. I know it is, and because the first time that I saw it, I was like, yeah, like I was saying with the Spells of Genesis stuff, I was like, yeah, this is stupid. Like I don't get it. But you see it work, and once you really start thinking about it, and it's like what like say there's a painting like the Mona Lisa, right? That gets reprinted all the time, but those reprints aren't the Mona Lisa, right? So I think the same idea can exist in the digital world. Like if the artist created this token and then sold 50 of them, and you can guarantee that there's 50, and the artist isn't like creating more because like you can see it, like this thing, yeah, proof, exactly. This 50 of these were issued, and then because there's a way in Counterparty you can lock issuance. So if you were to use Counterparty and create 50 tokens and lock it, which is how we do Pepe, there's not going to be 50 more. There could only ever be less, right? Which is another interesting thing because you can burn, like, provably destroy your tokens.
Art.
Yeah.
Burn books on the blockchain.
Yeah, but people, and it's funny because people do that with Pepes because we probably, I think it was like maybe 150, 200 into it, submissions into the Rare Pepe directory. People would like, at first people were like, I'm going to make like 8 trillion of this one. And then other people would be like, well, I want it to be worth more, so I'm going to make 2 or 1. And it wasn't as fun because you can't collect. If there's only one person can have it. So like the fun of it was like trading them, like buying and selling different ones, like trying to like guess like, oh, more people are going to want this one, so I'll buy like 10 of them, and then I can resell 5 and like cover the other 5 that I bought. And so we changed the rules. It had to be between, another thing, Rare Pepe Foundations, and we made the rules. We could change the rules. It had to be between 100 and 100,000 issuance. So the lowest you could issue is 100 of your Rare Pepe, and then the most was 100,000. And what people did was they tried to get around that issuance by, I'll issue 100 and burn 99 of them.
Okay.
Now it's 1. But like psychologically, that's not worth as much as a single issuance, which is interesting. Like,
right?
Yeah. So like you could have or even the one's kind of like a tough example because when there's only one of something, it's kind of, people don't have it, so it's hard to see. Like price discovery is difficult. But we've had people do it with like 10. So some people would issue 10 early days. We changed the rules. They'd issue 100 and then burn 90 of them. And it kind of started to work out that like the 100 issuance with 90 burned wasn't really as valuable, like perceived as valuable as just a 10 issuance, even though like it's the same thing at the end of the day. There's only 10.
Right.
So it's kind of interesting. There's a lot of like psychology, and I kind of learned that like in doing the Rare Pepe stuff. It's like this, like blockchain and like Bitcoin and all different like cryptocurrencies. It's like 99% psychology and like 1% tech. Like the tech enables it and you can trust it, but the rest of it is just like how you perceive things.
No, I've been talking a lot more about that. Like I think this is more of a psychological game than
it
a
absolutely
technological game.
It really is.
And you see this in meat space too, with like Supreme drops. Like Supreme just manufactures scarcity of the clothes they make and the collabs they do, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like the day they drop their new shit, it sells out in less than 10 seconds.
Yeah.
All of it. And then you have kids waiting outside fighting each other to get in the store to buy it in person. And it's all scarcity.
Yeah. There's only so many, and you want to be the one that has it.
Right.
I think that's a lot of what kind of drove Rare Pepe is there's certain ones that there's a low issuance of, and people want to say they have it. Like they have it, no one else does.
Are we stupid because we do this? As an animal?
I think there's a lot of things we do as animals that makes us stupid. I don't know if this is real high up that list. I think it's just kind of like human nature, right? There's a lot of, and I kind of looked into it as far as like why do people collect things? Like did like kind of a little research on that just because I thought the whole like Rare Pepe phenomenon was like just really interesting, right? So there's a lot of reasons people like collect things. Like there's like nostalgia reasons. There's all sorts of reasons why people would want to collect something. But and one of the main ones is really like kind of like so you can boast and say like I've got it and no one else does.
Yeah. It's like wearing your Supreme hat with honor. It's like,
yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, wow, you got one of those. Like, wow, that's really cool. Yeah. It's something that's existed for a long, long time, and I'm sure even like the like early humans probably had their like shiny rocks that they collected, right?
Shiny and big rocks, like that's what like Nick Szabo is shelling out. We've talked about that before. He talks about like rye stones back in I forget what island it was, Pom Pom maybe.
I remember that story. Yeah, that was and then there was one that like
their currency was huge stones that never moved, and they just basically when they did commerce with each other, like, all right, this stone's yours now.
Yeah,
or this part of the stone's
yours
now.
The best part of that story was how there was like the stone that they were like, because they would bring them down from like this mountain, and they would like take them by like canoe.
Yeah, they would bring them down from another island, and it was so hard to transport from that other island that once they had gotten a fixed supply in, they were like, all right, this is our currency. It's sound.
But do you remember the part of that story where there was one that like the boat sank and it like so that like this big rock that was going to be part of their currency, like on the way back to their island, it like sank, but everyone knew it sank, so they still used that like in their currency. It's like, and now I'll trade the one at the bottom of the ocean to you. Like that one's yours now. Like that's how crazy it is.
And it's crazy how that came crashing down. There was an Irishman who came to the island and like noticed that they were using these rye stones as their currency. Was like, holy shit, it's just limestone. Like, I'm going to go get a bunch of limestone and bring it back and use it as money on this island. And he completely destroyed their currency.
yeah. Rapid. That's like helicopter money, right?
Right? Yeah. And that's like, and if we want to go into like scarce money, like that's the beauty of Bitcoin is like people can create altcoins and stuff like that, but you're not going to have an Irishman coming in creating more Bitcoin out of thin air.
Yeah, but I think that's a lot of the reason why like altcoins work. Like, is because like people believe in them.
Yeah.
Because that like
do people believe in them or they like to speculate?
I think it's both, right?
Yeah.
I think they're really. I mean, if you're a developer and you're building on an altcoin, you have to have some sort of belief in it, right? Because you're spending your time.
You got skin in the game.
Yeah, exactly. And I really think like if you have the core of the people building around this thing that believe in it, and then people kind of believe in them. That's the like psychology. So like to get back to like when we were talking about EOS, like it takes all the like security considerations and throws them out the window for Bitcoin. But if people believe in it, then it could work. So it's like I don't know, and I kind of like. I did the like altcoin thing like early on 2013, 2014. Then there was like the altcoin like Armageddon, right? Where everything crashed.
The nuclear winter.
Yeah. And I was like, that's it. I'm done. I'm done with shitcoins. I'm not touching these things anymore. But then you see it in 2017, Bitcoin pumps and all these shitcoins pump again too. And it's like, what? Like, I think most of it's because they all trade against Bitcoin. So yeah. Bitcoin pumps and obviously
rising tide raises all ships.
Yeah. But at the same time, if enough people believe in it, it could work. And as long as the software works, and it's this thing with Rare Pepes, like early on when I was like building out the wallet, I need to make these things look like trading cards. So like they look like trading cards, and I even like put a little like CSS animation where you can like click on them and they flip around. So it's like you even get a better idea, like, oh yeah, they're trading cards. They look. I can flip. Look, I can flip them around. I can do it, and it really helps people to believe in it. Like these are they're real things. I can see them on the site. It's real. Like so that's where like the psychology comes in, and I mean from a security point of view, I think most altcoins are probably like doomed in the end.
Yeah.
But if I mean you see hard forks and stuff, and people just. Okay, we'll do the new one now.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I don't know. I always have this conversation. I always ask this question to people, like, how long does it go on before people are finally just like, all right, enough is enough. There's always going to be a new, shinier altcoin. Like, that's what people don't realize, like, coming in today. Like, oh my God, this is so much better than Bitcoin. I'm like, there's been 5 iterations of this shitcoin in the past. Like, there's always going to be a shinier coin that can do better. And like you said, I think it's going to come down to security at the end of the day. And it's really going to be like how much energy is expended on these chains, and obviously Bitcoin far and away is the most hash power. And
yeah, but that's where you see like proof of stake coins like working, and proof of stake is crazy, like because you have to trust the existing nodes that they're giving you the real chain. Yeah, and that's like I think a lot of people don't realize like that's the difference between proof of work and proof of stake. Like proof of work, I could come in not knowing anything, and I just find the chain with the most work, the longest chain with the most work, and that's the right one. But with proof of stake, you have to ask the current nodes on the network, like, what's the longest chain, and then hope that they give it to you. Right. And so theoretically, like that shouldn't work, but it does.
I mean, it is,
or it has. It has worked up till now.
It works till it doesn't, and
yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
It's a non-starter though for me because it's like Satoshi specifically used proof of work because proof of stake was a non-starter for him as well. Like what we're seeing a lot today is like people are like, oh my God, no, we need to go back to proof of stake. But it's like this problem's been worked out.
Well, it's energy efficient.
Oh, we're saving the world.
That's right.
We're saving the world. And that's I fucking hate that argument. Like people don't realize, like, especially like the Ethereum crowd, it's like we're gonna say it's more environmentally friendly. Like the energy that Bitcoin expends like would be wasted anyway.
Yeah.
And
it has a lot of value. I know I listened to a couple, I think one or two of your podcasts ago, we were talking about like using basically like having like mobile like crypto miners.
Right.
And I actually I'm a mechanical engineer like by trade, and the first job I had, I worked in power plants. So I actually like my job was basically when the power plants were down for an outage, I would go and inspect different equipment, make sure they could turn it back on and be safe. But power plants do have a problem where there's times where like they have excess energy, and there's a lot of work that's gone into like storage solutions. But if they just like were like, oh, we can just anytime we have extra energy, we just mine Bitcoin. Like that really is a solution. Like
right.
Like now they can make money when they have extra energy, and they don't need to like try to store it where like you're only going to get like 80%, 75% efficiency in storage. And a lot of the storage solutions don't work. I mean, there's crazy storage solutions for energy. Like there's a solution I saw where and a lot of it is renewables, right? Because people like you get the peak times like 5, 6 o'clock, right? Everyone's getting home, everyone's turning their lights on, everyone's doing that. That's where you get the peaks. But like for solar and stuff, you're getting the most energy like earlier in the day. There's not as much of a demand for it. So there's techniques where they like pump water up a hill with their excess energy, and then when they're producing less energy and they need more, there's more demand, they let the water back down the hill to like spin a turbine. Like
holy shit.
Crazy stuff like that. And I saw another one where it's like a little train car that they like pull up a hill, and then as it comes back down, like it basically just use gravity, right? Like because now you have more potential energy because it's higher up. But yeah, there's crazy like mechanical solutions that have like horrible efficiencies, right? You get like maybe 30% of the energy that was expended you get back. But something like that could be the thing that like really brings like really like moons Bitcoin like in another cycle. Like if these power companies, because like that's a lot of money. Like I would go into plants, if they're shut down, they're losing millions of dollars a day when they're not running. So like if they're running and they're producing extra energy, that it could be like huge amounts of extra energy that they just need to like burn, but they can burn it and like
turn it into
and
Bitcoin,
print money at the same time. Yeah, it's crazy. And I like so that kind of stuff. Like I think proof of work has a lot of advantages that are kind of like unrealized yet.
Yeah, how do we get people away from this meme that like proof of work is going to destroy the world? Do you know Bitcoin expends more energy than Ireland?
Or was it Denmark, I think?
Denmark, I think it might be Ireland too now.
Or maybe both.
But the argument, like people make that argument, it's like, do you realize how much energy is wasted on our traditional banking system? Like the buildings created, people commuting to and from work, like the paper wasted within the buildings, like the amount of energy that consumes. It's probably comparable or arguably even more.
Well, drive into any city. What are the biggest buildings in the city, right?
Yeah.
The banks.
Yeah. They create huge phallic structures because they have huge egos. And they want to have dicks in the sky that prove that they're the strongest people on earth, you know? And that takes a lot of energy. But Bitcoin, individuals can provide some energy and contribute to the system and create a financial system that's separate from the government and central banks. If you don't like that, then I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I think the Bitcoin's just spawned all these other things, and as long as they work and they can get people to believe in them, they'll continue to work until they don't.
Yeah. What are you working on now?
I'm working on parenting my 2.5-month-old.
2.5 months?
Yeah.
I thought you said years earlier. Oh man.
Well, I have a 2.5-year-old and a 2.5-month-year-old.
Okay.
Or 2.5-month-old. yeah, so trying to find like.
Well, congrats on being
Thank
a
you.
new dad.
Yeah, so that's why I have a train back at 11, so gotta head back home. But yeah, I like when you have kids, one of the things they say is like you don't realize how much free time you had, right, until you have kids. Well, I didn't realize how much free time I had with one kid until I had the second. So once I find my free time, I've got some ideas and stuff that I want to work on. A lot of it kind of delves into kind of the cross functionality of these kind of like digital collectible assets, and hopefully I'll find some time to work on that in the next few months. And,
We'd be working on Bitcoin, Ethereum, Counterparty.
Counterparty is kind of my labor of love.
So you, Dan Anderson, he's in this city, right? He's a big Counterparty.
Yeah, I hung out with him yesterday. Yeah.
He's always at the Bitcoin meetup I go to in the city. I've yet to introduce myself. I need to introduce myself.
Yeah, you should.
I follow him on Twitter. He's one of like the few contrarian voices in the space that I really respect. You know, 'cause he's got a contrarian view. Would you say?
I think that just the Bitcoin space, there's a lot of contrarians. It's
Right.
when you go into these other projects that it's like a lot of hand waving and just everyone just kind of believing everything, which is crazy. Like, and I think it's because I started in Bitcoin, and I got into BitShares early on, because I think everyone goes through the process, right? You discover Bitcoin, like, oh, here's this other thing that's gonna like beat Bitcoin, right? It's gonna be the next big thing, and I'm gonna get in on that at the beginning. And I kind of got like disenchanted with BitShares pretty early on. And it was because of
that a Dan Larimer project?
That was the original Dan Larimer. Yeah. Proto shares to BitShares. Yeah. Which is funny to come full circle back around to EOS. And then I'm saying it's like the perfect hedge to Bitcoin. But I know. It's crazy. Like I find it odd that I'm even saying that. But yeah, it's you see the echo chambers are pretty powerful once you leave Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
I think when you, I'm pretty active on Telegram and different Bitcoin groups on Telegram, and in the Bitcoin groups, everyone's just arguing all the time. I think it's great, right? Because someone will present an idea, even someone that's like kind of respected. Like, there was one of the rooms I'm in. There was a debate between George Timone, who works for Blockstream, and Paul Sports. For drive chains, and it was basically Timone says like drive chains are like a broken side chain, and Paul saying that they aren't. But here's the thing, that like if Paul came into Ethereum with that project, everyone would be like, oh, this is the next best thing. Let's do it. Yeah. And maybe it is good. I don't know enough about it. I'm skeptical.
I need to get Paul in here. We need to talk about this, because a lot of people will say you're basically just trusting miners not to steal your money in the drive chain model.
Yeah, and he'll say, well, you're trusting miners anyway to make sure Bitcoin works.
Yeah, but it's like,
yeah, I'm skeptical of sidechains in general.
Why?
I think that anything you want to do on a sidechain, just do it on an alt, because the like value with the reason people spin up altcoins is because like they think their idea is better, right? So why would they want that to be like Bitcoin? So like there's nobody, I don't see anybody rushing to like create a side chain.
It's an arduous endeavor. Like if you're gonna try to do it.
And why? And one of the things, and now that we like Lightning is starting to develop, and we have the ability to basically do atomic swaps between like chains.
Yeah.
What's the point? What's the point of side chains? I don't know. I'm skeptical of the whole thing.
I mean, the point would be, play devil's advocate here. I'd like to see sidechain experiments at some point. I don't think they're completely necessary. I'm in it for the sound money. As long as no more Bitcoin gets printed and you're able to send it in a censorship-resistant manner, it's fine. But sidechains, I guess the value proposition would be if you add more functionality to Bitcoin in some way, it in the end brings more value to the underlying token, which makes it more valuable, actually.
Yeah. I mean, I get the idea. I just don't see why anyone would.
But it's also a risk. Like if you fuck up the side chain, you fuck up the main chain.
Who's going to put their money in the side chain? I'm not going to.
Well, you're seeing it with Lightning now. Or what is there? Like, I think there's only like 20 Bitcoin on Lightning.
Yeah,
right
but
now.
but Lightning's because Lightning's not a sidechain, right? That's just
No.
like a multi-sig.
Yeah.
Like it's a payment channel, right?
But it's still an experiment. That's
yeah, but I think there's a big difference there in the fact that like Lightning, you're just locking like your money up, and if you do it. Have you tried?
No, I got to spin up a Lightning node.
Yeah,
I'm too nervous.
Just download the Claire wallet if you have an Android phone or
Apple guy.
Yeah, well, I have an Apple phone, but I have like an Android phone I use for work, so it's kind of nice because I can use both. But they kind of structured Lightning in a really interesting way that I hadn't considered before, where you use Lightning to send only, and you receive on a on-chain address. So that's how their wallet's structured. And the beauty of that is that you don't need to watch that. Like you don't have to worry about the watchtowers or anything because the previous states of your channel would only be more money for you. Mm-hmm. So you're not worried about someone publishing an old state because why would someone just give you more money?
Yeah, exactly.
So, but what it does is like, for example, like one of the ways I use Bitcoin is I'll use it to buy like gift cards and stuff. And I have a separate wallet for that. Well, I have to send Bitcoin to that wallet, and now that's my wallet I use to buy gift cards. Well, what if instead of doing that, I just used that transaction fee, opened a channel, now that's the money I use to buy. Literally, it's like I'm spending the same amount of money, but now every time I buy a gift card, I'm not paying a fee.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's like when I downloaded that wallet and I started using it, like, and there were some bugs. I remember I actually had to tweet. I tweeted Christian Deckers like working at Blockstream on Lightning, like to like help me through it. So we're definitely early days. But like you can see that. Like I really would recommend like if you can get your hands on an Android phone to like try it out.
Yeah, because there was that. Somebody just posted a video from Australia, like using it at a coffee shop, the Eclair wallet.
Yeah. Buying coffee at a coffee shop, right?
Yeah. Paying, I think he said he paid like a 2 Satoshi fee or something like that, which is less than a penny.
Yeah, and that's all just set by like whoever you're connected to, right? Because there could be no fee. There doesn't have to be a fee. It's just message passing at that point.
Yeah. So you're bullish on Lightning?
I'm very bullish on Lightning. I kind of have it like a different kind of take on it because I see Lightning enabling like the masses to use Bitcoin in the same way they currently use dollars. So imagine you, and this is kind of just like how I see it progressing and like how people could really buy into it because people don't like non-Bitcoin people, non-crypto people, like they don't even want to talk about money, right?
Right.
Like, don't question like their money, right? Which is a really weird thing. Like, you talk about Bitcoin, people get mad. Like, why are you getting so mad? Like, we're just talking about like this different money, right? But I see it as your spend only channels that you don't need to monitor. That's like your checking account, right?
Yeah.
That's the money you're going to spend anyway, and then your kind of incoming channels, the one you would want to monitor, and if like the whole watchtower stuff gets realized and there's like trustless ways to monitor, I almost think if you trust the other side of that channel, so like you work at Barstool, you get your paycheck from Barstool.
Yeah.
I assume you probably get ACH into a bank account.
Yep.
So Barstool also has the ability to ACH withdrawal from your bank account.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yes. So when you fill out that form,
No? What?
yeah,
I never knew
maybe
that.
it's different here, but the company I work for.
We're not accusing Barstool of taking anybody's
No.
money.
No. This is
just
this
is just possible.
Yeah, this is just how ACH works.
Yeah.
So, one of the things you do when you fill out that form, when you start a job, if you work at a company and you get your deposit ACH, is you kind of like give them the ability to. I mean, I'm sure you could.
Can they only withdraw money they put in, or can they take?
I'm
from
not sure, but I know that it's at least the company I work for, and I don't think it's unique because I work for a big company. It's like they do everything by the book and everything. So, but I had an issue where I went on paternity leave when my oldest was born, and they had changed policies, and you get I was getting money through the state because they had a paternity kind of leave. You get an X amount of dollars, and the company started a program where they would pay you your paycheck, which I just missed out on by a couple months. Got it with my second, but so they deposited the money and they shouldn't have. And so I checked my account and I go, guys, like, this is you're gonna, thank you, but you're gonna realize you gave it to me eventually. I'd rather we clear this up now, right? And they went back in and they took back double.
Oh shit!
Accidentally, because it was, but that they ACH withdrew, and I didn't have to like authorize anything or sign off on anything, and it just came back out of my account. So, like when you sign that over, at least for companies, like for payroll and stuff, there's a two-way street there. But in my mind, that's fine. It's because I know who they are. Like they're not gonna just. I'm gonna show up to work one day. I'm like, hey, you guys drained my bank account. Like, you know, I'll go talk to like the payroll department and say, hey, can you send that money back to me? Like, but if you look at Lightning in like that regard, and you get your paycheck that way, it's kind of the same as what we have already in the banking system. But the difference is you can close and reopen a new channel whenever you want. So you can basically you can be like getting your money into a channel, your paycheck, and then settle it every month or two.
Yeah.
Right. And then you move money into your other like channel, your checking account. So I kind of see like, and it would almost benefit like if Bitcoin starts to get bigger and more companies start using it, like it would kind of make sense for like existing payment processors to be like Lightning compatible, right? And it's like heresy, right? It's like, oh, no, we want to get rid of those things, and it's like most people don't. I mean, most people like taking out their credit card, and one of the things that I realized early on with a lot of like the like kind of crazy ideas in crypto and decentralized stuff is there's no decentralized customer service, right? There's no like, oh, I lost my money. Who do I call? Nobody. You lost your money, right?
Hop on Reddit and beg for money.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the general public wants customer service.
I would agree.
Yeah, and they want a phone number. They want a person they can talk to, and they want to be able to get their money back.
Yeah.
So I see Lightning as a means to bringing Bitcoin into like the current like financial system. Like I don't see it from like kind of like the like libertarian reset kind of like this is going to destroy everything that exists. I think it will change what exists, but I think the banks are still going to be around. Like the whole idea of like loaning money, like that's going to, in my opinion, I think that's good. Like I was able to buy a house. I didn't have enough money to buy a house, but I could put 20% down, and now I live in the house, right?
Yeah, I do too. I think I agree with you. But what I will say is like I would like to get back to a point where the base of the reserves is sound. So like you can cryptographically prove that the bank is reserved to a certain extent. You know, they have a certain amount of Bitcoin that they distribute loans against. So that's like my biggest want here, because right now the way the loans work, like they just print money and there's no accountability like on the back end.
Well, they take in $100 and they can loan out $1,000.
Right? Yeah. You could just lever up 10x and nobody asks questions about it. Yeah,
and I mean that's why you get the issue, the too big to fail stuff. And,
exactly.
And like the toxic assets and stuff. I definitely see a benefit there. I mean, I think that scarcity is like one of the most important, if not the most like important kind of properties of Bitcoin. But I think that it would benefit kind of the whole ecosystem to like try to integrate with the current system instead of the idea of we're going to like destroy the current system, which is fine, whatever. I mean, everyone's got their own idea, but I don't see that as a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing to want to integrate with what we have.
Well, it could even be like a slow transition where they integrate it, and then at some point we realize that they're obsolete. Like we don't even we don't need the banks in their current form to do it. Like, we can do it ourselves, but the fact that they created that ability to use these technologies sort of helps in the transition towards like a more sovereign individual.
Yeah, well, I think it helps. It helps keep them honest, and they actually have to like provide like valuable services, right? If you can do it yourself, then they're going to have to provide a reason for you to want to do it through them as opposed to doing it yourself. So there has to be a value add there.
Exactly.
Yep.
So it keeps everybody in check.
Yeah.
That's I would say that's the overarching benefit of Bitcoin, is that it keeps everybody in check, keeps everything fair to an extent. So Lightning, can you do collectibles on Lightning, I think?
So you can do like counterparty, not currently. There's a few updates that need to happen to integrate SegWit, and we need to get so one of the things counterparty is kind of stuck on, I think it's 0.13 because BTC DRAC used to patch Bitcoin Core every time a new release would come out. There's an address index flag, so he'd patch it, and basically with that, it gives you the ability to pull raw transactions. I think it's like search raw transaction functionality. So that's what Counterparty uses to parse each block. And BTC DRAC basically, I think he's probably, because he's the Haylong, I think, doing that. Mm-hmm. So I think he's just, I'm too busy, I can't do this anymore. He was doing it for free, so okay, can't really complain. But he basically came into the Counterparty Slack and was like, okay, guys, I'm done. Like, this is the last version, which is okay because Bitcoin is backwards compatible. So it's okay. It still works, but we need to, and there's a method, I think it's a TX index flag that we can use instead of the patched version. So you can use like Bitcoin proper without it having to be patched. So we need to do that. We need to get SegWit integrated. But you can do Lightning with counterparty assets. But the problem is for like digital collectibles, especially like ones that are like really rare, like there's not liquidity, right? Mm-hmm. So like the whole idea of Lightning is kind of like we're shifting balances, right? Well, if there's only like 5 of something and you're the only one that wants to use it on Lightning, what are you gonna do?
It's like, not really an applicable use case.
Yeah. Like, why wouldn't you just send it at that point?
Yeah.
So, but some of the more like liquid ones, like Pepe Cash, which is kind of a funny thing. Like that was the thing that brought down Bitcoin Uncensored, right?
Let's jump into that story because June Seth was pumping it and Chris DeRose did not like it, right?
Yeah. Well, I think they both thought it was funny. John Seth thought it was funny, and he bought some Rare Pepes because at the time they weren't that expensive. They were on and Rare Pepes being like the original, the Rare Pepe asset, and Mike, the mysterious Mike that started the whole Rare Pepe thing. We had kind of chatted about it, and we're like, we kind of want like a Pepe that's like very liquid, so that it can be like the main trading pair. Because then we're not stuck to the value of XCP, because that's kind of like the liquidity token in Counterparty, and that's on and I'm talking about on the decentralized exchange, the DEX that's within Counterparty. So we're like, well, let's just create a Pepe that has like 1 billion issuance, and it's divisible. At this point, it's like, well, what are you creating? I mean, you're creating like an altcoin, right? At that point. But it is a Pepe. Like there's a card, Pepe Cash, and just like all the other ones, you flip it around, and you trade it. And what Mike did is he just airdropped all the Pepe Cash to the holders of the first 3 Pepes. So it was the Rare Pepe one, Gox card, which is Mark Karpelis Pepe, and there's one called Shitcoin card. Which I have a gift for you before I leave. It's a physical Rare Pepe. So
thank you.
And it's a shitcoin card. But so he just airdropped him. He didn't tell anybody he was going to do it. He was just like, I'm going to create this thing, and we kind of talked about it, and we're like, we can't we don't want to be scammers. We're doing this to have fun. How are we going to get this out? And then Mike just did it. He was like, I just airdropped it to all the. I didn't get that many. I had like 1 Rare Pepe because I'm like, I need. I can't be spending I would need to collect all these things. I can't spend all my money on the first one, right? So I think John Seth had bought like 30 of them, and there was 300. And so I think it was probably like 30 million Pepe Cash or something. And within a couple weeks, like Pepe Cash, because Counterparty has a decentralized exchange, we didn't need like my whole thing is like I'm not paying an exchange to put Pepe Cash on because it's not a there's no ICO. It's like we wanted to create it so it was an easy way to trade Pepes. It's the liquid Pepe, right? So people started trading it for Counterparty XCP, which is traded on exchange, like it's traded on Bittrex. It's at the time it was on like Shapeshift, so you could quickly get through, get Bitcoin for it. So the value of it within a couple weeks just like skyrocketed. And I remember Junseth, he didn't even know he had Pepe Cash because he didn't buy any, and he didn't realize it got airdropped because he bought the Pepes at first as like he thought it was funny, and then he just never looked back, and then like. I think someone in the chat probably like, you should probably check like how much you have. And he checked and it was a lot. It was like thousands of dollars. And he's like, well, I don't want Pepe Cash. I want Bitcoin, right? And I think, it's found money, right? Like Bitcoin Cash or Bitcoin Gold. It's found money. It's like, oh shit, I got a bunch of money I didn't know about, but I want Bitcoin, right? So I think he just sold it all. He wanted Bitcoin, yeah. And he told everyone he was going to do it because he didn't want to like. He's like, guys, I don't want this. Like, I think he even did like a live stream of him like dumping it on the market. Like, I don't want this. Like, and I think the reason that I think Chris got mad because he felt like Junseth just like. He was just done. He was scamming people at that point because they were pumping it on their pot. Like, but they weren't really pumping it. They just thought it was a joke and it was funny. So then then it kind of just became a thing. Like I said before, I think there were other issues culminated to that. But that's kind of the story where
it's a straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah. And I think there was maybe a little bit of like jealousy in that like Chris was pumping it, but he never thought to like buy any, and like maybe he's like, I think that could have been in there maybe a little bit. But yeah, that was the story of how Bitcoin Uncensored came down. But it was actually funny because if you were to so the Rare Pepe like trading group is kind of like exists around a Telegram group. There's a Telegram group for it, and like Chris and Josh were talking about it on Bitcoin Uncensored, but I don't think a lot of people were like getting into it from that. Like they heard them talking about it and thought it was funny because if you asked anybody in the room at that time, like they're like. Chris and John, like, who's that?
Yeah.
Right? So that's why, like, we thought it was so funny because, like, Chris thought, like, oh, the price went up because of us. No, probably not yet. So
I would love to get those two in the same room in this studio, hash it out. Talk to Chris. I've emailed Chris. I'd like to get him on here just because I like his interview style. But, like, Junseth, too. I'd like to get him on as well.
Yeah.
If you can help out at all, let me know.
Yeah, well, I can send Josh a message.
Yeah. Is there anything else that like interests you in this space? What are you most excited for right now?
I'm kind of just excited to see where Lightning is kind of like is very exciting to me. I'd like to see how that kind of develops and how those wallets develop.
Do you think there will come a time where like people don't even interact with like main chain Bitcoin and just like open up channel? Like, do you need Bitcoin to open up a channel, or can somebody open up a channel for you?
Yeah, I've read a couple things. There was a post I saw on like channel factories where like one person could create multiple channels, and as long as you trust like that person, then like you can use your channel. It kind of changes the dynamic of Bitcoin a little bit, right? Because on-chain stuff, it's like there's no trust at all, right? Yeah. So with Lightning, there can be situations where there is no trust. Like if it's you're opening a channel, but it's send only, there's no trust involved, right? Because there's all the previous states are or more in your favor.
Yeah.
But I see like when we were talking about kind of like Bitcoin interacting with like the current financial system, the one that really excites me is Cash App. And I see that as like I could see them integrate Lightning in a way where like you don't really see it and you don't really know what you're using, and you could almost like subsidize users to open channels. Like, I don't know if you remember when Coinbase first came out and it was like sign up for an account and you get $10.
Yeah, I think it was $100 if you
I feel like
bought
refers-
$100.
Oh.
I thought like it used to be like if you referred somebody and that person bought at least $100, Coinbase was giving you $100. I'm pretty sure worth of Bitcoin.
Yeah, so just think about that. What if they were using that to send like to you to open a channel? Like, I feel like that could be subsidized to an extent to try to like onboard people.
It's funny you bring up Cash App. We're gonna have Miles Suter, who's the PM on the Bitcoin team at Cash App, on the podcast next week.
Nice. Yeah, I'll be interested to listen to that one.
Because I'm sure he's a huge Bitcoin guy, and I've teased him before. I'm pretty sure they're experimenting with Lightning to some extent.
I think it's the natural progression for that app.
And Jack seems pretty open to it. He's calling Bitcoin the reserve currency of the world in 10 years.
He's the biggest advocate for Bitcoin maximalism. No, I'm excited about that. I think they're in a position where they can really like help to bring it to kind of the masses. And it would be interesting to see like using Cash App in a way where you don't need a bank account.
Yeah, actually Cash App sponsors some Barstool podcasts too. Use the promo code TAKE, that's TAKE, part of my TAKE promo code, to get $5 when you sign up for Cash App. That was a free ad.
Very nice.
It's been a fascinating conversation. Thank you for educating me on digital collectibles.
Yeah, no problem.
I feel like I know a lot more than I did 2 hours ago.
I hope so. I hope I was able to bring some knowledge.
This is a great conversation. You need to let me know when you come back down to New York.
Yeah, for sure.
Joe, where can we find out more about you?
I would say just go to rarepepewallet.com. That's my kind of labor of love lately. Go there. There's a link to the Telegram group at the bottom of the main page. So I hang out in there a lot. Yeah, that'd probably be the best place.
Awesome. Can we find you on Twitter?
Yep. Yeah.
Do you want people to find you on Twitter?
Sure. It's my handle is @wasthatawolf.
Was that a wolf? I like that one. I'm Marty Bent. You can find me at Marty Bent on Twitter. If you like this podcast, rate, subscribe, share, tell people about it. We need more listeners. We need more advertisers. Just kidding. Maybe. That's all we got for this week, freaks. Peace and love. That was an awkward ending.